Hey everyone. I know things can get kind of crazy when you're juggling work and family life and money's tight.
Absolutely. It's a constant balancing act.
So we're going to dive into this book called Household Economics in the Home today.
Interesting title.
Yeah, and see if we can't find some useful tips and maybe a new way to look at things.
Sounds good to me.
Right off the bat, this book talks about real income,
Hmm.
not just like how much you earn,
Right.
but how well you're using that money to, make ends meet and enjoy life a little bit too.
Exactly. It's about maximizing that satisfaction you get from each dollar, especially when time is super precious, like when you're working nights and taking care of a little one.
Oh yeah, time definitely feels like the most valuable resource these days.
Absolutely. So even if you're bringing in a decent paycheck,
Mm-hmm.
if you're exhausted all the time, your real income might not be as high as it could be.
So like even if I'm making okay money,
Yeah.
if I'm not sleeping enough, or if I'm constantly stressed, my real income is actually taking a hit.
You got it. Think about it. Finding a good childcare solution for even a few hours
Yeah.
could actually boost your real income because you're getting more rest and energy.
Hmm. That's a good point. So it's not just about the numbers in my bank account.
Mhm.
It's about using those numbers effectively
Exactly.
to create a life that actually feels, manageable.
Manageable and enjoyable. And another thing this book really emphasizes is that
What's that?
your home is a productive unit.
Okay. But sometimes it feels like it's producing more mess than anything else.
I get it, believe me.
Yeah.
But think about it. All the cooking, the cleaning, taking care of your little one,
Yeah.
it's all work that contributes to your family's well-being.
It's just, sometimes it feels thankless and invisible.
It's true, but it has economic value even if you're not getting a paycheck for it.
So it's like I'm running a small business just without the profits.
You could say that. And historically speaking, households were the main economic units for a long time. Oh yeah. Before factories and mass production families produced most of what they needed, you're carrying on that tradition.
Wow, I never thought of it that way. So if my home is this like mini factory of productivity, how do I make sure those resources are being used wisely?
That's where this idea of the household's control over distribution comes in.
Distribution.
Yeah, you get to decide how your family's time, money, and energy get used. And when things are tight, like they are for a lot of people, that control becomes even more important.
It's like I'm the CEO of my own little family economy.
Exactly. Every decision you make about spending or how you use your time
Yeah.
impacts everyone in your household. It's about prioritizing needs before those extra wants.
Okay, so it's not about being cheap.
Right.
It's about making sure every dollar counts.
Mm-hmm.
So we've talked about real income and the household as a productive unit.
Mm-hmm.
What are some ways I can actually boost my household's productivity, especially with a crazy schedule?
Well, first things first, you can't pour from an empty cup. You need to prioritize rest and self-care.
That's easier said than done when you haven't slept a full night in months.
Yeah.
But I get what you mean. If I'm burnt out, I can't get anything done.
Exactly. Even just a few minutes of meditation or a quick nap can really make a difference in your energy levels. And since you mentioned your family lives an hour away,
Yeah.
have you considered looking online for parent support groups?
That's a good idea. I haven't thought about that. Just connecting with people who get it.
Right.
Could be a huge help.
Exactly. It's like building a virtual support system. And speaking of support, let's talk about unpaid labor.
Oh, yeah. I'm definitely familiar with that. Sometimes it feels like I'm doing everything around here.
And I know communication can be tough right now,
Yeah.
but have you thought about just expressing your need for a little more help?
Even just acknowledging that what I'm doing is actually work would be a good start.
I hear you. It's easy for those essential tasks to become invisible. Even a small gesture of appreciation can make a difference. What about a shared online calendar or a to-do list?
Maybe. I usually just try to keep everything in my head.
It could help everyone see what needs to be done and how they can chip in.
Yeah, that's a good point. Okay, so we've got maximizing that real income, thinking of my home as a productive unit, and remembering the value of unpaid labor.
You got it.
How does all of this fit into the bigger picture of economics?
Well, this is where it gets really interesting.
Okay, I'm all ears.
This chapter explains how your household, your own little economic unit, actually reflects the three main functions of any economy: production, distribution, and consumption.
Oh, right. I vaguely remember those terms from economics class,
Ah, yeah.
but I never really connected them to my, daily life.
Well, think about it. You're producing goods and services every day. Meals, clean clothes, a loving environment for your baby.
Okay.
You're distributing those resources among your family, deciding who gets what and when. And you're consuming things like groceries, diapers, utilities, all the stuff that keeps your household running.
Wow, it really is like my little home is a miniature version of the whole economy.
Exactly. And understanding those three functions can really help you make smarter decisions.
Okay, so how does that work in practice?
Well, with production, it's not just about doing more, it's about being more efficient. Could you cook meals in bulk on your days off to save time during the week?
Oh, that's a good idea.
Or how about using online grocery delivery so you don't have to run to the store late at night?
That's genius.
Little things like that can really add up. Now, for distribution,
Yeah.
being transparent can help a lot. Even just a simple whiteboard where you track expenses and who's contributing what can create a sense of fairness.
Right, that makes sense.
And when it comes to consumption, well, being mindful of your purchases can make a big difference in your budget.
So like making a grocery list and actually sticking to it.
Exactly. Every dollar you save is a dollar you can use for something that truly matters to your family.
Okay, that makes sense. So we've got production, distribution, and consumption. What's next?
Well, this chapter goes on to talk about different types of households and how they function in the larger economic landscape.
Oh, interesting. What kind of different households are there?
The book makes a distinction between what it calls domestic households, like yours, which are formed by families,
Okay.
and what are called institution households.
Institution households. What are those?
Basically, they're groups of people living together and sharing resources for a specific purpose, like a college dorm, a retirement home, even a military barracks.
Ah, I see. So they're kind of like alternative family structures, each with their own unique way of managing things.
Exactly. And the book dives into how things like location, income levels, and access to resources influence each type of household.
It makes you think about how differently things work for, say, a family living in a city center with easy access to public transportation,
Yeah.
compared to a family living in a rural area where they have to drive everywhere.
Absolutely. It's all connected. And the book goes on to explore how big historical shifts like industrialization and urbanization have really changed the economic roles of households over time.
It's fascinating to see how those bigger forces have shaped the way we live today.
It is, and it leads to the question, do we also have the power to influence those forces?
I'd like to think so. I mean, our individual choices must have some impact, right?
You're right. And as we move deeper into this chapter, it really highlights how social conditions play a role in shaping household economics.
Okay, I'm curious. What kind of social conditions are we talking about here?
One of the key things the book points to is social tradition and convention. Basically, those unwritten rules and expectations about how families should manage their finances.
Oh, I definitely feel those pressures, like the whole idea that you have to buy a house,
Exactly.
even if it doesn't make financial sense for your situation.
Right. Or the feeling like you have to go on fancy vacations to keep up with everyone else. The book encourages us to question those assumptions and consider how they might be changing or even holding us back. For example, that traditional model of a single-income household just doesn't work for many families today.
Yeah, especially with the cost of living these days.
Absolutely. So it's about defining what success and financial well-being truly mean for your family,
Right.
rather than blindly following those outdated scripts.
I love that. It's like taking back control and defining your own path. So we've got social traditions influencing our choices. What other social forces does the book discuss?
Well, another major factor is the role of government and how it impacts household economics.
Oh, yeah, it's easy to forget how much things like taxes, social programs,
Absolutely.
even labor laws affect our personal finances.
Exactly. And the book gets into how government policies can either support or hinder families' efforts to achieve financial stability. Things like access to affordable childcare, for example.
Oh, tell me about it. If I could find reliable and affordable childcare during the day so I could actually get some sleep,
Yeah.
I think my productivity would go way up. It's a major stressor right
It
now.
makes a huge difference. The book also touches on things like parental leave policies and regulations on predatory lending.
It really highlights how connected our personal financial choices are to these larger systems.
We're definitely not operating in a vacuum. Our choices are shaped by the world around us, but the cool thing is,
What's that?
our collective choices can also shape that world.
That's a powerful thought. Okay, so we've got social traditions and government policies in the mix. What else?
The last big one is the relationship between households and the world of industry.
We talked about households being both producers and consumers earlier,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm guessing there's more to it than that.
You bet. This is where the book really digs into how those roles play out in real life. For example, it talks about how industrialization led to a shift away from households producing goods for sale because factories took over.
Ah, so that's why I'm not churning my own butter or weaving my own clothes these days.
Exactly. But here's the interesting part. While households aren't producing as many physical goods anymore,
Right.
we're still major producers of services,
Yeah.
especially care work.
True. All the childcare, elder care, housework, that's all essential,
Yeah,
even if it's not paid.
absolutely. And the book emphasizes how that often invisible labor is vital for both families and the economy as a whole.
It's funny, I never thought of my daily chores as contributing to the national economy.
They absolutely do. And the book explores how industry has impacted this dynamic.
Oh, in what ways?
While on the positive side, industry has brought us labor-saving devices and technologies that have made a lot of household tasks easier. Think washing machines, vacuum cleaners, even pre-chopped veggies in the store.
Oh yeah, I love my washing machine.
Right. They free up a lot of time and energy, but the book also acknowledges that industrialization has brought some challenges for households.
Like what?
One concern is the increasing commodification of household goods and services. What used to be made at home with a focus on quality and durability is now often mass-produced and designed to be consumed and replaced quickly.
So it's like we've traded self-sufficiency for convenience, and that has its own economic implications.
Exactly. The book encourages us to be aware of that trade-off and to make conscious choices about how we participate in the consumer economy.
So asking ourselves things like, do I really need that new gadget? Could I repair the one I have? Could I buy fewer clothes but choose higher quality items that will last longer?
Those are great questions to ask. It's about finding that balance between convenience and sustainability.
Both for our wallets and for the planet.
Exactly. It's about aligning our spending choices with our values and understanding that even small decisions can make a difference.
Wow, this has been a lot to take in. I feel like we've just scratched the surface of this chapter. But I'm already seeing my household in a whole new light.
It is a lot to process.
I'm definitely feeling inspired to make some changes.
That's great to hear. And the best part is,
What's that?
this last section of the chapter really focuses on how to put these ideas into action.
Perfect. I'm ready to take things to the next level. I'm excited to learn how to actually apply these concepts to my life and maybe even make a positive impact on the world around me.
That's the spirit. And you know what?
What?
Your household, even though it may feel small sometimes, actually has a ripple effect on the larger economy.
Really? How so?
Well, the book breaks it down into 3 key areas: labor, capital, and entrepreneurship.
Okay, those are some big concepts. Let's start with labor. How does my household impact the labor market?
It all begins with the workforce. You're raising a future worker right now. And the choices you make about child rearing, education, even just creating a supportive environment, all have a big impact on the quality of the workforce down the line.
Wow, that's a lot of pressure, but also kind of amazing to think about. It makes all those sleepless nights feel a little more meaningful.
It's true. A well-nourished, well-educated, and motivated workforce starts in the home. And it's not just about raising future employees, it's also about instilling values like hard work, creativity, and resilience, which can lead to entrepreneurship.
So that's labor. What about capital? I know it has something to do with money and investments,
It does.
but I'm not sure how it relates to my household.
Think of capital as the fuel that powers economic growth.
Okay.
And one of the main sources of that fuel is household savings. Every time you put money aside, even if it's just a little bit,
Yeah.
you're contributing to the pool of capital that gets invested in businesses, infrastructure,
Oh, wow.
all the things that create jobs and opportunities.
So my tiny savings account is actually playing a part in the big economic machine.
It is. It's not just about saving for a rainy day. It's about investing in a brighter future for yourself, your family, and your community.
That's a great way to look at it. It makes those little sacrifices feel a lot more worthwhile.
Exactly. Okay, so we've covered labor and capital. Now for entrepreneurship.
I always think of entrepreneurship as starting businesses. How does that connect to the home?
Entrepreneurship is all about innovation, creativity, and taking risks. And those are qualities that are often nurtured at home.
Interesting.
By encouraging your child's curiosity, supporting their ideas, even letting them fail and learn from their mistakes.
Right.
You're building the foundation for their future success.
Whether they become an artist, an engineer, a business owner, or anything else.
Exactly. You're not just raising a child, you're cultivating a future innovator.
That's an awesome thought. So I'm not just managing a household, I'm shaping the future of the economy.
You got it.
This whole deep dive has been eye-opening. It's amazing to see how interconnected everything is.
It is. We're all part of a much larger system, and even the smallest actions can have a ripple effect.
Yeah.
And that brings us back to you and your current situation.
Okay.
It's easy to feel overwhelmed when you're juggling so much and money's tight. But remember, you have more control than you think.
Some days it definitely doesn't feel that way.
I know. But that's why understanding these principles is so important. They give you a framework for making decisions that will benefit you and your family, both now and in the future.
Okay, so what's the most important thing you want me and everyone listening to take away from all of this?
Even when things are chaotic and uncertain, you have the power to make choices that improve your financial well-being and contribute to a stronger, more just economy.
That's a powerful message.
It starts with recognizing the value of your work, both paid and unpaid,
Hmm.
making mindful spending choices,
Right.
and investing in yourself, your family, and your community.
I love that.
You're not just a consumer, you're a producer, a distributor, an investor, and an influencer.
That's so inspiring.
And by understanding that power within your household, you can truly make a difference.
This has been such a great deep dive. Thank you for explaining all of this.
It's been my pleasure. Remember, knowledge is power. And now you have the knowledge to transform your household economy and create a brighter future for yourself and your family.
And to our amazing listener, thank you for joining us.
Yes, thank you.
We're so glad you're here. Remember, even small changes can make a big difference. So start with one step, one choice, and watch the ripple effect spread.
Keep learning, keep growing, and keep making those powerful choices.
Until next time, keep diving deep.
So we were talking about boosting household productivity.
Right.
And I think the book has a really good point about making sure you're taking care of yourself, too.
Because if I don't have the energy to do anything,
Exactly.
then it doesn't matter how efficient I try to be with everything else.
It's so true. And I know you're busy, but even little things can make a difference, like maybe a quick meditation
Yeah, a few minutes of mindfulness could probably help a lot.
or even a power nap when the baby's asleep. Anything to recharge those batteries.
That's a good point. I tend to push through the exhaustion,
I know it's hard.
but it probably makes me less productive in the long run.
Exactly. And you know what else might help since you mentioned your family's an hour away? Have you looked into any online parent groups or communities?
Not really. I
Yeah.
tend to keep to myself,
I get it.
but I can see how connecting with other parents online could be really helpful.
Especially when you're feeling isolated.
Exactly. Just knowing you're not alone in those tough moments
Right.
could make a big difference. Okay, so that's self-care,
Mm-hmm.
which I definitely need to work on.
We all do.
But what about all the work that needs to be done around the house? It's a never-ending cycle.
It is, and a lot of it falls under what we call unpaid labor.
Oh, yeah. I'm very familiar with that concept. Cleaning childcare, it all adds up, and it can be exhausting.
And it's often not acknowledged or appreciated.
Tell me about it.
Mm-hmm.
Some days it feels like I'm doing everything around here.
It's so easy for that work to become invisible, especially when communication is strained.
Yeah, that's definitely a factor in my family right now. We don't really talk much.
I see. Well, have you considered maybe trying to express your need for more help? Even just a little bit.
Yeah. I don't know. It's hard to even know where to start. It feels like everyone just expects me to do it all.
It's hard to break out of those patterns, but even small gestures of appreciation can go a long way.
Yeah, that's true.
What about trying something visual, like a shared online calendar?
Maybe. I usually just keep track of everything in my head.
That can get overwhelming. A visual reminder could help everyone see what needs to be done and pitch in a little more.
That's a good point. Okay, so we've talked about prioritizing self-care and recognizing the value of all that unpaid labor. What's next? How do these ideas fit into the bigger picture?
This is where the book really dives into some fascinating concepts.
Okay, I'm listening.
It explains how your household is like a microcosm of the entire economy. It goes through these three main functions of an economy.
Wait, is this going back to like Econ 101 stuff?
Kinda, but we're going to make it relevant to your life.
Okay, good, because I barely passed that class.
Well, the three functions are production, distribution, and consumption.
Okay, I vaguely remember those.
So production is all about creating goods and services.
Okay.
And you're doing that every day. Meals, clean clothes, a safe and loving environment for your baby. Those are all goods and services.
Wow, I never thought of it that way.
Right. And then there's distribution,
Which is what?
deciding how those resources get allocated, who gets what, and when.
So, like, deciding who gets to sleep in on the weekend.
Exactly. Or how much of the budget goes towards groceries versus diapers.
Right, right. And then consumption is just, well, using those goods and services.
Exactly. It's everything from eating those meals you prepared to using those diapers you bought.
So my household is like a little economic engine. I'm producing, distributing, and consuming all the time.
You got it. And the book argues that understanding these three functions can help you make better decisions for your household.
So it's not just about theoretical economics.
Sure.
It's about practical ways to manage my family's resources.
Exactly. For example, when it comes to production, it's not just about doing more, it's about being efficient.
So like what we were talking about earlier with meal prepping and online grocery shopping.
Exactly. Little tweaks to your routine can make a big difference. And then for distribution, it's about being fair and transparent.
Right, like that whiteboard idea for tracking expenses and contributions.
Exactly. And with consumption, it's about being mindful of your spending choices, sticking to that grocery list,
Yeah.
resisting those impulse buys.
Academic stuff.
But so worth it. Every dollar you save is a dollar you can use towards something that really matters to your family. And this actually leads into another interesting point the book makes.
What's that?
It talks about how households are influenced by all sorts of things, like social traditions.
Oh, yeah, like those expectations about buying a big house or going on fancy vacations.
Exactly. And those traditions aren't always helpful, especially when they put financial pressure on families. The book encourages us to question those norms and figure out what truly works for us.
I like that. So it's not about keeping up with the Joneses. It's about figuring out our own definition of success and financial well-being.
Exactly. It's about creating a household that aligns with your values, not someone else's. And, another big influence on households,
What's that?
government policies.
Oh, yeah. Things like taxes and social programs definitely impact our finances.
Absolutely. And the book talks about how policies like access to affordable childcare can make a huge difference for working families.
Oh my gosh, yes. If I could find affordable childcare,
It would be a game changer.
it would change my life.
And the book also touches on things like parental leave and regulations on predatory lending.
It's crazy how all these things are connected.
It is. Our personal finances are intertwined with these larger systems, and it's important to be aware of that. And there's one more connection the book explores that I think is really fascinating.
What's that?
The relationship between households and the world of industry.
We talked about households as producers and consumers before,
We did.
but I have a feeling there's more to this story.
You bet. The book goes into how industrialization led to this big shift away from households producing goods for sale. Factories kind of took over that role.
Right. That's why I'm not out there making my own clothes or growing all my own food.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. While households aren't making as many physical goods anymore, we're still major producers of services.
This is.
All that child care, elder care, housework, that's all essential work, even if it doesn't come with a paycheck.
It's true. I never thought of it as contributing to the economy.
Oh, it absolutely does. And the book explores both the benefits and the challenges that industry has brought to households.
Like what?
Well, on the one hand, we have amazing labor-saving devices like washing machines and vacuum cleaners.
Guys, savers.
Right. But on the other hand, there's this increasing commodification of things that used to be produced at home.
Commodification.
It means turning things into products that are bought and sold.
Oh, okay.
So instead of making things ourselves, we buy them.
Yeah.
And those mass-produced items aren't always as durable or high quality.
Right. It's all about convenience and disposability these days.
Exactly. So the book encourages us to think about that trade-off and make conscious choices. Do we really need that new thing, or could we repair what we have?
Right. It's about finding that balance between convenience and sustainability.
You got it. It's about aligning your spending with your values and understanding that every choice matters.
Wow, this has been a lot to take in. I feel like my brain is exploding with new ideas.
It's a lot to process, but you know what? The last part of this chapter is all about putting these ideas into action.
Perfect. I'm ready to take all this knowledge and actually do something with it.
So remember how we were talking about how your household can actually have an impact on the larger economy?
Yeah, that was pretty mind-blowing.
Right. Well, the book dives even deeper into that idea in this last section.
Okay, I'm ready for more mind-blowing.
It all comes down to these three key areas: labor, capital, and entrepreneurship.
Those are some big economic forces.
They are, but they all connect back to those everyday choices we make in our households.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Let's start with labor. How does my household impact the labor market? I mean, I'm just trying to keep a tiny human alive over here.
I hear you. But think about it. You're raising a future worker right now.
True.
And all those decisions you're making about child rearing, education, even just creating a loving and supportive environment,
Mm.
all of that contributes to the quality of the workforce down the line.
Wow, I never thought of it that way. So like those late night feedings and diaper changes,
Yeah,
they're actually an investment in the future economy.
exactly. A well-nourished, well-educated, and motivated workforce starts in the home. And it's not just about raising future employees either. It's about instilling those values of hard work, creativity, and resilience
Okay.
that can lead to entrepreneurship.
Okay, so that's labor. What about capital?
Mm.
No, it has something to do with money,
It does.
but I'm not sure how it relates to my household.
Think of capital as the fuel that drives economic growth.
Okay.
And one of the biggest sources of that fuel is household savings.
Yeah.
Every time you put money aside,
Even if it's just a few dollars.
yep, even a few dollars, you're contributing to the pool of capital that gets invested in businesses, infrastructure, research, and development.
Wow.
All the things that create jobs and opportunities.
So my tiny savings account is actually playing a role in the big economic machine.
Absolutely. It's not just about saving for a rainy day. It's about investing in a brighter future for yourself, your family, and your community.
I love that. It makes those small sacrifices feel so much more worthwhile. Okay, so we've talked about labor and capital.
Mm-hmm.
What about entrepreneurship? I usually associate that with, starting businesses and stuff.
Right. But entrepreneurship is really about innovation, creativity, and taking risks.
Okay.
And those are qualities that are often nurtured in the home. By encouraging your child's curiosities, supporting their ideas, even letting them fail and learn from their mistakes,
Yeah.
you're setting them up for success.
Whether they end up starting a business or not, those skills are valuable.
Exactly. They're transferable to any field.
This is so cool. I never thought about my role as a parent in these terms before. It's like I'm not just raising a child, I'm shaping the future of the economy.
You are. It's all connected.
This whole deep dive has been mind-blowing. It's really shifted my perspective on things.
I'm glad to hear that. And you know what?
Okay.
Even though it might feel like you're just trying to get by day to day,
Oh, believe me, some days that's all I can manage.
I know, but even in the midst of all the chaos and uncertainty,
Yeah.
you have the power to make choices that improve your financial well-being.
Okay, so what's the key takeaway here? What's the one thing you want me and everyone listening to remember?
You have more control than you think, even when things feel really tough. It starts with recognizing the value of your work, both paid and unpaid,
Right.
making mindful spending choices that align with your values,
Yeah.
and investing in yourself, your family, and your community.
That's a great message. It's so empowering. It's a reminder that even when things feel overwhelming, our choices matter.
They do. You're not just a consumer, you're a producer, a distributor, an investor, and an influencer. And by understanding the power you hold within your own household, you can make a real difference.
This has been such an amazing deep dive. Thank you so much for walking us through all of this.
It's been my pleasure. Knowledge is power, and now you have the knowledge to transform your household economy and create a brighter future.
And to everyone listening out there, thank you for joining us. We're so glad you're here.
Yes, thank you for listening.
Remember, even small changes can make a big difference. So start with one step, one choice, and watch the ripple effect spread.
Keep learning, keep growing, and keep making those powerful choices.
Until next time, keep diving deep.